When the Canucks miss the playoffs again.
When Jim Benning trades away all our picks.
When Goldalden is scratched for the third game in a row. C4 is there. With Sedin-like vision, Horvat's work ethic, and Petey's electric personality. Here comes the C4 Canucks Hockey Podcast with Chris, Matt, Anna, and Adam.
Powered by Overtime Media.
Welcome to another edition of the C4 Podcast, powered by Overtime Media. I'm Adam Ovenel-Carter at AdamFOC, joined in studio by the lovely Anna Forsyth at A4Forsyth03, and shortly, Matt Lee at MattLee61. Is it 61 still?
61,
Underscore 61. Thank you, Anna. It's been a while since I've done this, as you probably are aware to the loyal listeners. Welcome to the C4 Podcast. We've got a good one coming up. Anna, what's going on?
We'll just go through the Canucks being the Canucks and some pretty disappointing losses to Arizona and to Columbus.
So pretty par for the course for the Canucks in March.
Yeah. And maybe that surprising win against the Avalanche. Not here is Chris at Light Force.
Yeah, surprise, surprise. That guy's never here. Am I right?
Yeah. God, you can't get him to come in. Chris is in a kind of self-imposed quarantine. We think he's fine, but just to be cautious because we're all in a box together.
Well, Anna dropped the bomb that she might have a cold just before we started recording.
So who here is feeling not good?
Hey, I'm as healthy as can be.
Anna, be honest.
I have a stuffy nose, that's all.
That's enough. Take the rest of the day off.
Can I just say that is not a symptom
Brock Besser,
of
long-term
the virus.
IR. Let's get you out of here.
I'm fine.
We're just trying to get it so it's just me and Matt.
Are we talking about
Yeah,
Brock Besser
that's
as well?
true. Yeah,
We can.
Of course.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, I'm literally going in between booths here. Adam, how are you? It's been a while.
It has been as long as the last interval, I suppose. But
When was the last episode you were here? Was it before
About a
the
month
Toffoli
ago?
deal?
Yeah,
Oh,
it was
yeah.
before the trade deadline for sure.
Oh, it was definitely before the Toffoli deal?
Yeah, it
Yeah,
was.
We can't ask you about your thoughts
He
on
tried
that
to
one.
come on during the stat holiday, but that
Oh,
was
yeah.
I
He
was-
was
yeah.
available for family day.
I was, yeah.
Just the rest of us were
No
not.
family in town.
Neither is the studio.
I was here either just before or just after the All-Star game.
Right. What else were we talking about? You mentioned the games that we had so far. We'll talk about playoff chances as well. There's a lot to unpack there.
A little goalie talk, a little Demko talk.
Yeah. So there's a lot to talk about. I don't know. It's a fun time, isn't it? At least, Adam, you got to admit. Like, I know you're Mr. Negativity sometimes, but you have to admit that the Canucks in March are a lot more fun than previous Canucks of March.
Yeah, there's a lot more to be excited about, but there's also plenty for me to hang my
You are
negative
the
hat
angriest
on.
person I know.
You should
know
see
that?
the text I have going on with some friends. We did vow today to be more positive, so we're going to try to do
wow.
that for a spin.
Anna, how are you? Besides all the sickness you have,
I'm fine.
luckily this is a bigger room than usual.
It is.
Would
Anna,
would this be considered close contact?
No.
Are you sure you don't have allergies?
I don't have allergies
Oh,
apart from
great.
being allergic to you guys' BS.
Oh, damn.
She got us good.
Anna, you were at the Pint the other day with the rest of the ladies at Canucks Twitter. How was it?
Yeah, it was great. The women of Canucks Twitter, or a group of us, met up for International Women's Day to watch the Columbus game at the Pint.
Do you want to talk about that real quick? Do you want to
Sure.
talk about that now, or do you want to talk about it in one of the segments?
Whichever. I mean, I thought it was a great moment. Like, it was great to sort of put some faces to Twitter handles. It was lovely to just be able to talk hockey with women and like-minded fans. It's not without the kind of creepy male influence. It still, was on the fringes, but for the most part, it was a really nice event, and, yeah.
I
hope
thought
to
Leah
continue.
Hextall nailed it, by the way.
Oh, her and Cassie were great. I didn't catch the whole game, but I saw the first period and a half of it, and I really enjoyed it.
I don't think it would be detrimental to have them be regular teams on Hockey Night in Canada. To be
Right,
honest
and
with you.
that's the kind of
Honestly,
thing
if
where you don't have to remark upon it, or it doesn't have to be for a
if
special
you were
occasion.
to listen to Leah Hextall or Jack Edwards, it's night and day. She's so much better than many of the.
Without naming names,
But
Leah
Jack Edwards.
Hextall and Cassie would make a better team than some of the regular voices
Yeah,
that we have.
absolutely.
Oh, big time.
Absolutely.
So, we'll talk about all that, everything Canucks coming up next on the C4 podcast, CanucksHockeyBlog.com.
All right, so here we are. It's a new day. Hopefully, we're going to try to keep this going. This little positivity thing with Adam and the Canucks. So I have to say this. We talk about how the Canucks are a young team, and their best players are their young players. I don't think there's any question about that. But it is immensely frustrating to see the expensive veterans who are supposed to be the locker room guys kind of costing them wins. You get, like in Columbus, when I think it was Sutter and Roussel, who took back-to-back penalties late in the third, and just like those are the kind of guys who shouldn't be making those types of mistakes. But I think it was that same game, correct me if I'm wrong, and I watched it at work, where Miller kind of took over or took Virtanen under his wing. So you have these young guys who are kind of stepping up in leadership roles. So I think, this year is, who the hell knows where this year's going to end up. I'm not going to try to predict one way or another. It's just too tight. But I do think if we are able to move on from some of those old anchor contracts, if you will, that we do have young guys, even if they've only been in the league or with the team a couple of years, that have a real chance to make a real impact very shortly.
Yeah, so I think I kind of expressed the same sort of frustrations last week, that, the guys that we're supposed to be depending on, like, maybe not to be the top-end skill guys, but to sort of have that veteran leadership, that veteran presence, and the experience, are just actually costing us games down the stretch. Even, like, people that have been, defensively responsible, like Horvat and Pearson, were a bit shaky down the road. So, yeah, there's just too many contracts, though. I'm not sure I see us getting out of, Myers. Like, he's a huge one.
Myers is going to be around for a while, and I could talk about the Myers-Fattenberg pairing all day, and I don't know why we keep going back to it.
You're on team I don't like that pairing as well.
Yeah, who is?
Team common sense?
Yeah, it's been unbelievable how
Fattenberg is...
He's regressed a lot.
I feel like he was good for a hot minute.
He was fine. He was unnoticeable, which is what you want out of your sixth defenseman.
Right,
but lately he's been a Keith Ballard type, off the glass and out, I don't care about possession type of player.
Yeah, and
it scares
all those
the daylights
plays
out of me.
Have been just throwing it up to the blue line and giving away possession every time, and it's been really, really frustrating. So.
And I'm sure it can't be great, for your confidence when you're playing with, a player like Myers who keeps pinching at all the wrong moments.
Oh, yeah, the game last night, there was one time where he pinched, and then he froze, and then he didn't know where to go back. It was brutal.
Yeah, there's just some rough skating on that pairing, too.
The defense, we've said for a long time, is going to be a work in progress for a while. I think there's a lot of moving parts. But I think Benning can get out of one or two, hopefully, maybe not Benning, we'll see who's around, can get rid of one or two of those contracts in the offseason. That would do a lot, I think, going forward.
Let's go back to, how about we start with big picture items here with the Vancouver Canucks. Obviously, the results so far on this homestand, not exactly what we had expected. There were some games there for the taking, most notably the Arizona game last week. The Canucks coming away with a win against the Colorado Avalanche before coming up empty-handed again against the Columbus Blue Jackets. Literally swept on the season series by the Blue Jackets. John Tortorella in the revenge games has been unstoppable this year.
Yeah, it's super frustrating. It would be frustrating to lose to that team anyway, because I don't think that they're a great team. But the fact that it's Torts, getting one over on the Canucks, I just, it drives me crazy.
The Columbus game in Columbus, and then Sunday night's game against the Jackets as well. You could make the argument the Canucks should have come away with 4 points in those two games.
Oh, yeah, totally. Easily.
It is super frustrating. I would say that the Canucks were the better team again for the most part last night or on Sunday night.
That one I have a tough time. The first period and a half, they played great. They shut down the Blue Jackets, but then they just...
But they're it's the lapses in judgment that they have.
The complete lapses where...
the second period when they let in that last-minute goal in the second period, that was a lapse in judgment.
Yeah, and then they go into this shell where all they do is just fling the puck up the ice and hope one of their teammates gets it. What was it, 9 shots in the first 4 minutes for Columbus in the third period yesterday? It was brutal.
But even then, the lapses in judgment, yeah, they're frustrating, but they're also just, what we come to expect. The game we've won in between these two podcasts here is, against Colorado 6-3. It's not like it was this defensive masterclass. It's just the scary fact of the offense completely drying up.
Now, about that, it was really evident in the last game against Columbus, their complete unwillingness to just shoot the puck. Always looking for the slap pass,
they're always
the
looking
tip
for
in or
the
something.
fancy pass.
Why is that? That's a recent development, I think, in the past couple of weeks, and I don't know where it came from.
I think for me, especially with the Columbus game in general, I think they were watching a little too much game film in some ways. I think they knew what kind of a goaltender Elvis Merzlikins is, that he's a goalie who can stop the first shot, and I think they were trying to beat him on the sides quite a bit with nice short passes. In some ways, ugly hockey is still effective hockey, and I feel like low shots for the rebounds probably would have been just as effective as these little short fancy passes that they were trying to negotiate throughout the game. It is what it is. I think for the most part, still the Canucks were at least the better team throughout the more of the game than Columbus was. They deserved a better fate than the 0 points that they came up with. You would have liked to have seen it at least get to overtime, but that's been the break so far throughout the season.
And I think when you're not playing your best hockey, the small things make a difference. And I think one of those things is rebounds. And I think that's been a problem for a while, that the Canucks are not bearing rebounds and not in the right position to do that. Nothing I've noticed this season is just inability or the speed at which they clear the zone. It's just it means there's no second chance on that offensive move. Because, okay, the puck moves out of the zone, not ideal, but, it happens. So, clear the zone, try again. But it feels like they're so sluggish in doing that there's, that's it for that entire move.
I want to ask you guys, there have been two sort of Jekyll and Hyde performances over the last week. The Canucks looked really good against the Colorado Avalanche, albeit they gave up a lot of chances to them as well. And then they looked pretty abysmal in stretches against the Columbus Blue Jackets, a team that was clearly not as strong on paper as the Colorado Avalanche. For you guys, who are the real Vancouver Canucks? Is it the team that was getting a big win against the Avalanche, or is it a team that seemed to play down to their opponent against the Columbus Blue Jackets?
That's a really tough question, and it has been so back and forth that I don't know if I have an answer. I think I talked about it a lot when Markstrom was playing and standing on his head and making 40 saves a game, that, when they won 7 in a row, people kind of forgot about how poorly they were playing in a lot of those games. So, I do think they're not an upper echelon team yet, and they weren't as good as being first in the Pacific looked at that point in time. And yeah, they lost Besser since then, but still, I do think they're not quite there yet, and I do think there's going to be a lot of hiccups down the stretch.
Anna, how do you feel about this?
I think, I kind of agree with Adam that it's kind of hard to say, but I don't think the teams are that different, in the two performances. Because, the offense wasn't quite there in the way it was against Colorado. But defensively, they're the same team. It's just they don't have Markstrom to cover up all their mistakes. So I think in terms of the whole team, they're probably somewhere in between. They're not an offensive powerhouse, but they're not, the team that can't get any goals against a mediocre team either.
Yeah. Sorry, yeah, I do think they also, they do this thing where they play really well for large stretches of the game, and then they'll have one or two really bad lapses. The 2 goals Columbus scored the other day were just 2 guys left wide open after, 19 minutes of solid hockey. So it is what it is with the Canucks. It's just going to be unpredictable for the rest of the ride.
Sticking with the sort of big picture view that we're opening with on this segment of Rewind, guys, there are 14 games left in the regular season. I think it's safe to say that after the trade deadline, we all sort of agreed that the goalposts had shifted a little bit, that maybe just barely making the playoffs wasn't quite enough, that maybe the Vancouver Canucks could stretch themselves into a top 3 Pacific seed. I've sort of retreated back on those expectations a little bit, that at this point you just want to get into the playoffs. I'm curious for you guys, Anna, how has your sort of approach on the Canucks' remaining 14 games shifted over the last couple weeks, seeing the ebbs and flows of the last few games?
Well, I think we talked about after the trade deadline the worry about the gap widening in the Pacific teams because of Pacific teams improving, and I think it has a bit, but maybe not as much as we were worried it had. Canucks are definitely performing worse. But they're not like a grossly worse team. I think, like I've said this before, I think they need to be doing better than they're currently doing. No matter how bad the Pacific is, they still need to be. They won't get into the playoffs like this. That's for sure. Like, we're about to, like, depending on the Arizona game and how that finishes, we'll probably drop out of a playoff spot tonight. And
Yeah. We've always said that 95 points is kind of the floor for a playoff team, right? So the Canucks would need to win.
They've got 19 points to make up in those remaining 14 games.
So they need to win about 10 of their next 14 games, which, given their recent track record, is going to be pretty hard to do.
Yeah.
20 points? Oh, yeah, you're right.
See, there you go, 20 points. So, I mean, it's also
That's a tall ask.
I know,
man.
the Pacific, you're
10 of 14?
You're relying on teams like Arizona to do the same, too, but it just... it is a tall ask for an inexperienced team, really, right?
Yeah, who's lost there?
Is it really 10 of 14 they need to win?
Yeah, basically, to get 95 points.
Were we not just sitting here like at the trade deadline saying they just have to go 500?
Well,
500.
but I said more. I didn't think it would be get to this stage, though, but here we are. But, if we don't make it, like, that changes everything, right? Jim probably loses his job. Like,
changes a lot. But if we don't make it, part of that, we should talk about this, goes on the shoulders of Thatcher Demko. What do we make of Thatcher Demko so far?
Can we'll save Demko for the next segment. Let's just stick. We'll stick. I know you've got a lot saved up for the F word here, but I don't know.
I did the F word already, but the segment.
Yeah, whatever. Too bad. Now we've changed it. This is what happens when I'm going back and forth between. This is what happens when I go between booths. Okay, I get all my wires all crossed.
Okay,
Doesn't read the rundown.
Yeah, he doesn't really.
Hey. Who normally puts down the...
Okay,
no, we're not going to have this conversation.
Sorry, we won't have a production meeting on air, but...
I don't know. From my last vantage point, I don't know how much you guys agree with this, but trying to take the positive view of this, I still think in the grand scheme of things, playoffs or not, the Vancouver Canucks and their young players are getting meaningful games in March, which is what we did set out to accomplish. If they make the playoffs, it's great. We're playing meaningful games into April. Awesome. If not, I do think that there is value in guys like Pettersson and Horvat and obviously Besser before he was getting hurt and Virtanen playing meaningful games. I don't know how you guys have sort of looked at it lately, but like watching the Colorado game and then the Columbus game, it felt like playoff kind of atmosphere desperation that we were getting towards. So I do think that there is some value in these younger players getting some of these games in now because there were teams like Edmonton that were not getting those meaningful games at the time. They were mailing it into the draft lottery. So maybe I'm drinking the Kool-Aid, but I do think it's important for the young guys to get some experience.
I know. I feel like that's what teams that don't make the playoffs say, is that felt like a playoff game. And it's just like downgrading our expectations every time. It's just like, it would be, even if we don't get through much of the playoffs, it will be meaningful.
Meaningful games in March is not a good enough bar to set.
I know, but if we're looking at a sort of copycat league that this is, the St. Louis Blues were playing meaningful games in January, February, and March leading up to them getting into the playoffs last season. And it did harden them to the point where they were well equipped to handle the pressure of a playoff series on a regular basis, which ultimately led to the Stanley Cup. And I'm not trying to say that the Vancouver Canucks are this year's St. Louis Blues, but I do think, having looked at how important these meaningful games were for the Blues, who were a basement team last year in December and went on to win the Stanley Cup, I do think that there's some value.
So let me ask you this question then. If St. Louis was playing meaningful games in January, they obviously won a boatload of those to get out of the basement. If these are meaningful games for the Canucks, does not worry you how they've responded in the face of that?
Yeah, of course it's also troubling how the Vancouver Canucks have sort of responded to some of these meaningful games. I think it also shows that this team still has a lot of shortcomings towards being an actual contender. But that said, it's the young guys who are leading the charge for the Canucks right now, and that's the kind of mentality that we're going to have in the next 2-3 years as that window of opportunity reopens for the Canucks.
But I think the fact that it's young guys does somewhat make nonsense of the idea that it's these meaningful games and experience that counts, because they haven't really had that, but they're still the ones that are able to respond under pressure.
And kind of like how I led this segment off, I do think the young guys are ready to carry the team, and they often have to this point, right? So we'll see.
We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll talk about those individual players, Adam, that you wanted to talk about in the F word. great rant coming up. I know he's got something planned. We'll talk about Thatcher Demko. We'll talk about the emergence of Zach McKinnon, possibly as an everyday NHL player for the Vancouver Canucks. We'll talk about the possible return of Brock Besser in the not-too-distant future. All that coming up next. C4 Podcast, CanucksHockeyBlog.com.
He liked to say the F word.
Well, then get the here then. Okay, see ya.
Is going to have the F word on it.
I wish I could give you an explanation about it. I can't.
You out of here.
You said the F word, Dad.
You called me the F word.
Okay, before Adam gets going on one of his patented rants, I'm going to tell you a little bit about our friends at The Athletic. I'm sure most of you guys have already downloaded, but if you haven't, we've got a great offer for you, courtesy of Overtime Media. All you need to do is go to theathletic.com/overtime. Make sure that's all lowercase. And as long as you get a yearly subscription, you'll get a great discount. Honestly, it's just the go-to place for post-game. We love the Armies, Wyatt and Thomas Drance and Harmon Dial, but, there's all kinds of stuff from across the league. Scott Burnside's got a great article about Justin Williams coming back, which I think is just a fascinating story. Closer to home, we've got Harmon Dial's got an article up today about Jake Vatanen, so that's an issue close to the heart, and sort of his relationship with Travis Green. All kinds of stuff that isn't hockey. My go-to is hockey, and then there's a few great football writers on there as well, but it's just got world leaders in sports writing articles every day. Take our recommendation. Head on over to theathletic.com/overtime. That's all lowercase, and get great ad-free premium brand content.
All right, so we're back with the F word, and now I have to do a little riff because of a little mix-up in production, which Matt claims he never does. But here we are. Split me the double birds right now. Anyway, I guess what I'll try to say here is what maybe a less positive fan than me would maybe see happening this offseason, in which case the Canucks do miss the playoffs, and then they get a nice, sweet first-round pick this year. Then what happens? I mean, it all comes down to Thatcher Demko and Jacob Markstrom. I think that's the big domino to fall. We'll get into Demko talk and how we see him looking, and we'll see what we say about Jacob Markstrom too. But I think maybe the better course of action is roll with the young goalie, save some money there, and then you sign another forward. You re-sign a guy like Tyler Toffoli, keep that top six going. You see what can happen when you have guys playing on quality players playing on both the top two lines. It goes a long way. And then maybe, I don't know, you clear some of these names off the books. You get guys like Brogan Rafferty into the lineup, get these younger guys, see what they can do. I know we went all in this year, but if we do miss the playoffs, I do think it is time to kind of clean house and not hit the reset button, but, I hate the term retool, but there's enough pieces to start to build around, to really build around, that you can take the pieces that are there and move forward with them. I don't think the current iteration of what we have is nearly good enough. So anyway, that's my riff.
So
go ahead, guys.
Hang on. So just so I'm perfectly clear, you're saying the Canucks should stick with Demko after this season?
Yeah, I'm saying if they miss
playoffs
the
or not. Oh,
I'm saying this is what happens if they miss the playoffs.
Right.
Then I think you get rid of Benning.
Yep.
Get rid of Markstrom.
So you're letting Markstrom walk at this point?
I think so. Well, maybe you get him on a nice discounted deal, but you're not getting rid of Demko, I think, right? Maybe it's tough with the expansion draft, but Markstrom's going to be 30 plus, and he's coming off a big-time injury. Who knows what he's going to look like when he's back.
But
I don't know how big-time the injury is, by the way.
Any of Demko's injury problems concern you, given that they were concussion-based?
Yeah, fair enough, but he's also $5 million cheaper.
Yeah.
So,
how much?
I mean, it's mainly the age that concerns me. Markstrom, I'm fine to pay your goalie, a chunk of money, but
I have an issue with that these days. It's like running backs in football. I just don't think you need to pay your goalies a crap load of money.
I don't know what that means. But
I've been wavering back and forth on this issue of Demko versus Markstrom. From what we have seen from Thatcher Demko in his, current role as the Canucks' everyday starter, the results are not like awesome by any stretch of the imagination. Like Thatcher Demko filling the boots of what has been a Vezina-like season from Jacob Markstrom. I think, given those expectations, no one could probably fill those boots. Factor into that, like Thatcher Demko is 24 years old. He's still young by starting goalie, standards. Like I look back at Jacob Markstrom's stats with the Canucks when he was 24. I think that was the Torts. No, the post-Torts year.
No, it would have been the Torts year when they traded Luongo mid-season.
Yeah. And like the numbers were just as, average as Thatcher Demko's numbers are this season. So for everyone who has said like Thatcher Demko is not performing like a number one goal, like the dude's 24.
Yeah, and he has, his save percentage is goes back and forth each game. It's usually right around 900, but that's because same thing. He's facing 30 to 40 shots a game, and so his goals against is usually around 3, right? And I don't want to, make excuses for the guy, but he's come into a really hard situation, and I think they wasted his best performance of the season against Columbus. I thought he was really, really good that game.
I thought he was really good against Colorado too, though, to be honest, except for the 5-hole goal that he let in.
Yeah, he's had a couple squeakers, right? That just are pretty.
But
and those I think
those are going to happen.
Yeah, with confidence, they'll clean those up too, right? So, I'm curious to see what everyone else thinks here.
I'm with you in the fact that I don't think we should be too concerned about what Demko is putting out there, and given what coming into this situation, given the defense in front of him, given the amount of shots that he's having to face, not at all concerning our performance, but that just shows you the difference between him and Markstrom, between perfectly fine and elite.
Okay, here's a question for you: Would you rather have Markstrom at $5 million or Toffoli at $5 million?
So this is how I'm going to answer your question, and I know this is not the answer you're looking for, but if you're asking me, would I rather have Markstrom or would I rather have Demko and Toffoli?
Yeah,
I take door number 3, which is defer. I want the Canucks to sign Markstrom to a potential contract around $5 million and then unload one of them next season at this point when we actually have to move them.
Unload one of the goalies?
Because I feel like the debate has not and will not be settled by the end of the season.
But then what do you do?
Toffoli will be.
You got rid of Tyler Madden, who could be playing in your top 6 next year, as early as next year. Maybe that's optimistic, but
yeah.
Play along. So you got rid of him. So now what? You just let Toffoli go and you're down a top 6 wing? You're playing Louis
Is
Eriksson?
there any way the Canucks can make it work with the cap to sign Markstrom to, let's say, $5 million a year and then get Toffoli under contract, potentially, and I know we talked about this very briefly, but if they unloaded a Brandon Sutter contract? I think
if they unload a Brandon Sutter contract.
I don't think it's unreasonable. I don't think it's unreasonable to try and unload either Brandon Sutter or Sven Baertschi.
I think my point is, if the Canucks don't make the playoffs this year, then they're clearly not ready quite yet, right? There's plenty of pieces to build towards next year and stuff like that, but even then, we went all in with this group. It's not going to change that much next year. So I think Markstrom is a guy that gets you into the playoffs now. So the debate is whether, if you don't make it this year, do you take a look back and reflect and be like, okay, we went all in, it didn't work. We overguessed or overestimated our potential, right? Or do you, and then you say, okay, let's reel it in and go for 2 years from now, 3 years from now.
Okay, but if you're Tyler Toffoli, do you wait those 2 years? Do you stay with this team until, and the potential that they might have?
Well, he was happy to stay with LA for the rest of his career too. So
I'm sure he was, but happy to get out there. But he's a rental at this point, and I think it's just such a big if. But you're right to say that we are stuck in these contracts, and you have to be realistic. It's frustrating because it shouldn't be that the reason we can't keep Markstrom is because we want to keep Toffoli. It's frustrating to say that we're in this situation. I'd rather, keep both, unload some extra contracts, but we are where we are.
I don't know. We all saw the speculation at the deadline that Columbus was kicking tires on Sven Baertschi a little bit. I mean, it's going to take a lot of effort, but I don't think it's completely unreasonable to try and get rid of Berchi and Sutter. Louis Eriksson, I used to think that maybe there was a way out of that, but I read what Rick Dollywall put in The Athletic, I'm a company man, about how difficult it would be to just terminate mutually with Louis Eriksson, given that JP Barry's previous contracts and clients are like Andrew Ladd and stuff like that. Like, he was more than happy to play hardball and let them sit in the AHL. So I am tempering my expectations on our ability to possibly mutually terminate with Louis Eriksson.
Doesn't he share an agent with Quinn Hughes?
I don't know.
It's just like that might play into Canucks, like, treading carefully, at least.
Yeah.
I just think fresh eyes in the situation would be real nice.
That's the thing. Like, maybe it's not unrealistic to get out of those contracts and make those trades and, like, make some smart plays if it's someone other than Jim Benning who, like, may not stick around.
Right.
If we miss the playoffs.
On the Tyler Toffoli thing, this is how I'm sort of trying to view Toffoli. It is a little bit, in a way, I feel like how the Raptors were trying to sell Kawhi Leonard. Different circumstances, of course, but I think the Canucks are trying to sell Toffoli on the future that this team has, how bright it is, that that they're capable of being a contender for maybe the next 3 to 5 years. I think that's an enticing package for Tyler Toffoli, and this is his opportunity, his first opportunity to play in a Canadian market. He's obviously a Canadian guy. So I think that's what Jim Benning's sell is to Toffoli, is that, you know, you have an opportunity to play frontline minutes with a really talented player like Elias Pettersson. I think that, you know, you would be a very key core player on this team for the next few years if you were willing to stay here. And the fact that the Canucks went out and paid a hefty price to get Toffoli should show Toffoli how much the Canucks want him to be part of their future.
Sure. I mean, obviously...
Am I being too positive on this podcast? I feel like I'm being too positive here.
No, I feel like you're trying to talk yourself into things a little bit.
Yeah, which is fine. Like, I hope you're right. I'm sure that there's other considerations, too, about Toffoli, like non-hockey considerations. Does he want to play in a Canadian market, like, long-term?
But he likes being on the West Coast, though.
He likes being on the West Coast. But, yeah.
He talked on After Hours about how much he loved coming to Vancouver on the road trips.
Yeah, and Vancouver is the, like, rehab home for Forgotten Kings, so... You know,
probably helps having Tanner Pearson around.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like,
bromance is real.
Yeah.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how close do you think that bromance is to the bromance you and I have?
Oh, I thought you were gonna say Pettersson and Besser.
Which one of us would be Pearson and which one would be Toffoli?
To Pettersson and Besser. Where's Toffoli?
Not close to either, but it's cute. It's up there, but it's not close.
I think it's me and Adam, and then it's Pettersson and Besser, and then it's Toffoli and Pearson.
Okay, so you guys are...
Like, they're not even close.
Should we use that to segue into a little Brock Besser talk? Or
okay, let's do that.
Okay.
So, Brock Besser...
if you point out the segue.
Yeah, thanks, by the way.
Well,
you made
welcome.
it very obvious.
You're welcome.
So, Brock Besser. At the trade deadline, everyone was like, Brock Besser is done for the regular season. He'll be reassessed in however many weeks. Rib cartilage injury. It sounded pretty bad at the time. Now, friend of the show, Patrick Johnson, noted when Brock Besser returned for a full practice on Sunday morning that his indication or his conspiracy theory, the tinfoil hat, seemed to be that the Canucks tried to add a body at the deadline. They put Besser on LTIR so they can clear space to get said body. When they didn't get said body, maybe they said, let's open the door a little bit for Brock Besser to possibly return before the end of the year. Is anyone buying into what PJ was trying to sell?
Do you mean Wayne Simmons? Like, what do you... They got to...
I don't know.
What do you mean?
No, I think he was thinking Simmons, though. I think what PJ was... He didn't name Simmons, but he thinks that the Canucks were trying to add another body at the deadline, and when they couldn't make it work... When they couldn't make it work, in addition to Toffoli, and when they couldn't make it work, they reopened the door just a smidge that for Brock Besser to possibly return before the end of the regular season.
But either way, I don't think they're putting him on the ice, like, without him.
Oh, of course.
But I do also think he's ahead of schedule, too.
Oh, I think so, too.
I agree with that. I mean, ribs, that's the thing. Ribs are, like, a very tricky injury. One, you can't really do anything to help heal. And two, you can't really tell when.
And a lot of it is just pain tolerance, too, with ribs, right? So...
all the reports, Besser took part in a full practice. It sounds like he's getting close to, if not ready for contact at this point as well. Even the conspiracy theorists, like, pointed out how on Instagram Besser was with his dog and he was throwing a ball overhead.
I was thinking about that when I saw
I
that.
thought this too. But Besser was throwing a ball for his dog Cooley. Cooley Besser.
Came second in the dog race.
By the way, we could talk about the dog race by the end of the show. Someone reminded me about the dog race.
Okay.
But I thought that was extremely interesting for a guy who was dealing with a rib cartilage injury. If anyone has ever dealt with a rib injury, and I haven't, but from what I'm told, that is a very hard motion to make when you're dealing with a rib injury. It's a very painful motion.
So that's a very good sign, is what you're saying.
I'm not saying that the Canucks were fudging the information a little bit, but it seems like they were doing a little bit of cat maneuvering.
Ah, I see what you're saying.
So
Yeah.
I think that there was a little bit of an exaggeration about the actual status of Besser's injury.
So then how do we... shouldn't say we. How do the Canucks get Besser back in the lineup?
I think right now with Ferland also being on LTIR, they have the means to have Besser play right now if they wanted to. But I'm not a cat magician.
And
It's no Lawrence Gilman.
I'm not Lawrence Gilman.
Oh, I messed
Matt
up.
Lehman.
No. But I think implicit in Adam's question too was how does he fit? With Toffoli.
Let's have this conversation.
Oh, I think it's great. Like I said, having two fully fledged scoring lines. You put Toffoli on the top or second line, same with Besser, interchangeable.
Hook it to my veins,
It's
Adam.
so nice. And then you could drop Horvat onto the second power play unit or somebody, right? There's so many guys who can shoot now, and then give the second power play a legit center.
I haven't felt this excited about the possible top six since the 2011 days.
Honestly, since the Sedin era, for sure. It's
there hasn't been an opportunity for the Canucks to have such a legitimate top six since that period of time.
Yeah, it does feel like the second line were kind of relegated to that shutdown role when they really have the skill.
So let me ask you this, though.
Addition to do both.
This was a very, I think, credit to Brendan Batchelor, who brought this up with Travis Green in a pregame presser. But he asked the question, why Eriksson on that line with Pearson and Horvat? And the essential TLDR of the answer was that he just trusts Louis Eriksson defensively on that line compared to Jake Virtanen. Does he trust Tyler Toffoli, for instance, to be on a second line with Pearson and Horvat?
God, I hope so.
Yeah.
Green does a lot of things right, but putting Brock Besser on the third line is not one of them. He's not suited for that role whatsoever, and Toffoli would be a waste in that role. So if you have Louis Eriksson playing over either of them on the second line, then I think that's inexcusable.
Yeah,
at
that's
this point.
insane. I just think that I can understand the point that Louis over Jake is more defensively responsible. I just think it's not worth it, right? Even now, and then with Brock Besser coming back, it's definitely not worth it. I think you just have to trust your players to make fewer defensive errors.
So are we in complete agreement that, let's say Brock Besser at least joins the team for their upcoming road trip, that if he were to be reinserted back into this lineup, that it would be Besser reunited with that Lotto line of Miller and Pettersson on that top line, and then Toffoli gets bumped down to that old familiar spot with Pearson on his wing?
I really don't know. I think it would be fine either way.
Toffoli has looked very good on this line with Miller and Pettersson. We
Yeah,
can't
he's a
deny
great
that.
fit. And man, boy, do I love JT Miller. Holy moly.
Yeah, I mean, he's great.
JT Miller, worth the first-round pick? I know you love picks, Adam,
Here's
so
the thing.
I'm going to put you on the spot.
He is worth a first-round pick. Was it the right move for the Canucks to do that? It's still you can have both scenarios here. Right?
Yeah, I am totally on board with this.
You hated
Been
the
my
deal,
argument
right? At the
from
time?
beginning.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah,
I think he's
same.
exceeded expectations. I think he's exceeded everyone's expectations. But you know.
But
it
even
is what it
then,
is at this point.
we didn't think he was. We thought he was a good player when he came. He's
I'll tell you
even
what,
better
though,
than we thought. But
if we end up with a first-round pick this year, then I'll feel better about it.
yeah, totally.
I think friend of the show, Cam Robinson, said the best case scenario for the Canucks was to bottom out one more year this year.
Yeah.
Get that top, 5-10 pick, and then you go for it the year after.
Markstrom excluded. Has Miller been the best Canuck this year?
Yeah, probably.
I think we had this discussion.
So we had this discussion about MVP.
You did.
And-
Oh, sorry, I missed that.
Yeah.
My hot take was that it was JT Miller was the MVP of the season of the
See,
team.
I said it was Markstrom clearly clearing away Markstrom, and then you have this argument between like Miller and Pedersen, and then Hughes. But like, I think from a pure talent perspective, Pedersen is the most talented Canuck.
Sure.
But in terms of like best performance, like consistent,
doesn't it surprise you that he's only 26 years old? Like the way he's a mentor on the team, he's like guy's 35.
He's like he's 40,
and he's pretty settled. Like, yeah, he has a family. And
he's on a cap-friendly deal for the next few years too.
Yeah.
I think I said this last time, but my exact words were Jacob Markstrom might be the MVP of this team this year, but no player has changed the culture of this team more than JT Miller.
I agree with that.
You look at, like, did you see the part, I think it was against the Arizona game where you see Miller.
We already talked about this.
Oh, you did?
In the room, yeah.
So Miller's obviously like putting his arms around Virtanen.
Yeah.
He's giving him that affirmation, things to do. Like you mentioned this. Miller has clearly taken Virtanen under his wing. He sees a little bit of Virtanen in himself, like his younger self. You cannot understate the importance of a player like JT Miller to hold young players to improve and to be accountable.
And I do think, as difficult as it was to accept the deal at the time, the fact that a player like of his caliber was wanting to come to a team like the Canucks and was excited about it, like, obviously it was a trade, it's not like he handpicked Vancouver, but yeah, that it kind of showed, like, okay, maybe we're not quite ready, but, like, you know, this team is on the up, and, like, the fact that he's gelled so well and loves playing here, it says a lot to, like, how this team is changing.
Yeah,
I think since the All-Star break, he's been the best Canuck, and I don't think it's been particularly close.
Yeah.
Just before we get to the next segment, real quick, Zach McKinnon, thoughts?
Same thing I was kind of saying with Brogan Rafferty. Like, he deserves a shot to just play every day. Like, what is he? Even if he is a little worse than, I don't know, Brandon Sutter, any of those guys who sometimes play on the wing. Like, why not give the younger guy a shot, right?
I mean, the potential that he has compared to Brandon Sutter, like...
Yeah, in limited minutes, he's played very well. I feel like he's doing more in the offensive zone than he is in the defensive zone, so that's always a good thing for a young player. You know, his ceiling's not super high, but he could definitely be a totally fine bottom six guy.
Yeah,
I love the energy he brings to this team,
absolutely.
too.
I think, like, in comparison to someone like Reed Boucher...
She literally choked. She pulled a Marcus Naslund.
Here's the Corona coming through.
You think we're far enough away?
I don't know. She coughed into her elbow, at least.
That's pretty disgusting.
Okay. I'll go frog my throat. I'm okay.
I don't know, man.
More like a...
I think it's a good time to take a break, to be honest with you.
Sorry.
We're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll talk about playoff chances and, I don't know, whatever else we can do in the next 5-10 minutes before Anna kills us all. C4 Podcast, CanucksHockeyBlog.com.
Take hitting out of the game. You can't hit anymore, so don't do it.
The unsportsmanlike conduct, I want to get an explanation on it.
No kidding.
Because how do you get suspended for unsportsmanlike conduct?
Plus interference. There's no interference there. He had the puck.
Now, Madison never ever did that before. Now, why did he do it? Because he was mad.
Well, your early favorite for the Calder Trophy, that's for sure. Elias Pettersson, you might even say your early favorite for the Hart Trophy.
Just to get back to your question, Elias is going to play plenty. He's going to get a lot of power play time, and yeah, I'm concerned about our offense. We lost 2 100-point players, and we've got to find a way to score.
All right, we're back. Anna's feeling better, I hope. She's got water. Hopefully we'll all survive. Anyway, we touched on it earlier, but we're talking playoff chances now. The Canucks currently, as we talk, they are sitting in the final wildcard position, I believe. But depending on a few games that happen today, that could change. So, I don't know what the actual odds are of the Canucks making the playoffs, but as we said, they need to win about 10 of their next 14 to get to that historic threshold.
I think they're like literally at 49-50%.
Right. So, I mean, it is a crapshoot. It is
It's a
coin
literal coin flip.
Whatever you want to call it. How do you guys feel? Looking at who's around the Canucks in the standings, I mean, we don't know who every team is playing going on here, but or going out the rest of the way. But how do you feel about the Canucks' chances?
Not good, Adam. Here's the thing that actually concerns me the most, and it might not be what you think it is. The Minnesota Wild have won 7 of their last 10 games. They are good all of a sudden. And they're winning games. Winnipeg Jets are hanging around. The Nashville Predators are winning games, and it's not even from Pekka Rinne. Like, it seems like every team that's in the playoff race are winning games. No one is fading into the oblivion. Even the Arizona Coyotes, who I think we all expected to fade away, they're still in it.
Yeah.
Everybody's in it.
Yeah, the Pacific is pretty wild in that there's so many teams right in that hunt. It's kind of shifted a little bit with the Canucks, who were in first, falling down, obviously, and then you got teams like Edmonton and Vegas, who've kind of pulled away from the rest of the pack, but there is that cluster of 4 or 5 teams that are all right around each other, and with 14, 15 games left, a lot could still change, but I still think it's just going to be super tight down to the wire, and the Canucks' recent slide is not promising at all.
Arizona Coyotes and Winnipeg Jets are playing each other tonight.
Yeah, what's that one at?
Naturally, it's a 2-2 tie in the third period right now.
Go.
So basically,
a 3-point game.
I think Arizona have to win in regulation for Canucks to stay in the playoff spot.
Do we even, like, I don't even know who we want to win that game. Can neither team win that game?
But that doesn't help us either. Like, Arizona are 2 points back from Winnipeg. Winnipeg have the same amount of points as us, so...
So we want Arizona to win.
Yeah.
The Vegas Golden Knights are playing Edmonton. Like, at this point, do you cheer for Vegas?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. But I like I said, I think those teams have pulled away so much that there's not really a chance that we catch them.
And, like, saying that, you know, if we end up playing... If Vegas pull away, Canucks fall out, like, and then they just end up playing Vegas in the first round.
Swept.
Yeah, I don't like our
You think the
chances.
Canucks will get swept?
No, but I don't think they would beat Vegas. I think they could beat Edmonton, Calgary, Arizona, a lot of teams, but I don't think they'd beat Vegas.
A friend of mine, and Anna, you weren't around for this, but a friend of mine brought up how similar this Canucks team feels to the 2001 Canucks that just squeaked into the playoffs.
Oh, I was thinking the one, remember Naslin, we choked.
That was 2003.
Okay, there you go.
When they lost the Pacific Division title.
Yeah. That's when this...
So this this is the 2001 team in my mind where Harold Druken scored the game winner to send the Canucks to the playoffs. Remember they had Felix Potvin, they traded Felix Potvin, and Felix Potvin went to LA and started dominating for LA.
Yeah, that was really my first year of Canucks fandom.
So
2000, 2001.
So just to paint the picture, Harold Druken, like fourth liner, not that good, wins the Canucks. Wins it for the Canucks in overtime, sends the Canucks to the playoffs where they promptly get swept by the Colorado Avalanche in 4 games in the first round.
And that was the year the Avs won the cup, right?
Yes, correct. For Ray Bourque.
Yeah.
You remember that one?
The worst jersey retirement of all time, but that's beside the point.
I don't disagree, to be honest with you. Let me ask, who's this year's Harold Druken for the Canucks? If you were to pick someone on this team to be the Harold Druken of 2020.
It's Jake Virtanen scoring his 20th goal in the last game of the season to send them to the playoffs.
That would be fun.
Do we put his statue right next to Pat Quinn's outside, or do we...
I just know I would for sure shotgun a beer.
Oh, yeah.
I don't even drink, and I'm pretty sure I would shotgun a beer.
Yeah, I would do it. And I disagree with shotgunning as one principle, but I'd probably do it.
Should we shotgun live in studio one day?
I was at the Boston game a few weeks ago, which was a great time. And then we already had.
He says it was one of the best games he had ever been to, I believe.
Okay, so I went to Game 7 against Chicago. That was the best
How do you put that up there with that?
I'm saying that was the best game I've ever been to. I'm saying this game was probably the most fun I've had.
I agree.
Game, if that makes
That's
sense.
an accurate
because start to finish, it was just like
3 goals a period kind of thing, just having a great time. But then we'd had a few drinks, and then Virtanen scored, and then we had to do one more.
Thanks for the invite for that game, by the way. I appreciate that.
Well, you're welcome.
Dead to me.
Just a lover's tiff over there.
I was going to ask something. Oh, a random question, because this is a little bit of bits and bobs, I guess, before we wrap things up here. So
wait, hold on. Do the Canucks make the playoffs? Yes or no? Give me a yes or no answer.
I'm team positive, baby.
Not what you want to happen, what you think is going to happen.
What is the stupid thing that Clay calls it again? The
Good-looking Positivity Club?
Good Looking Canucks Positivity Club, GLCPC.
Yeah.
Thank you. Nailed it.
Don't mention Clay's name around Anna. She just got smoked.
Oh, you did get smoked. I forgot about that.
Like, I thought I did, and then I saw some of the other results, and I was like, oh, I did fine, actually.
What were the actual results?
It was something like 35-65, and I was like,
Two-thirds, one-third, that's fine.
Yeah, like, I was like, oh, I was expecting to lose by a lot
I
more.
voted for you, for the record.
I did vote for you as well.
Good. I literally wouldn't forget
Anyway.
for you guys. Anyway.
Did they make the playoffs?
I say yes.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, you guys, you gotta believe.
I was in the Believe Club
So was I. You know, Matt, you had
until
me.
Here's the thing,
today and until this second, maybe.
I'm hoping they do. I'm genuinely
Yes.
hoping they do.
I'm not saying
think
that,
they will.
you know, his return makes all the difference, but getting Brock Besser back quicker than previously expected helps a lot.
Yep. Just morale boost, too, for sure.
It'd be nice if Jacob Markstrom could come back, but I'm not going to hold my breath on that
I know.
one.
I got a notification, though, from,
from
my
Yahoo?
Fantasy.
Yes.
Being like, oh, it's changed from
Yahoo
out
Fantasy
to
changed
day to
his
day.
status from out to day to day. And I was like, I was on Twitter like, Markstrom, search.
Yeah.
Wait, they changed
Hit.
Markstrom status?
Yes.
Oh, I thought you meant Besser's.
No. They changed Markstrom's to day to day. I'm like, Jeff Patterson, Harmon, Tom Drance, checking all of them to see if there's anything.
I'm on your tail in that league, by the way. I'm coming for you.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I'm still saying yes. I don't like their chances, but like, it's something about this team. Like, I feel as fans, we are being tested with this team as they go through this like huge struggle. Like, it is so infuriating to support this team sometimes when they should be winning games against Arizona, when they should be winning games against Columbus, but then they pull something out of their butts against the Colorado Avalanche, a team that is like a juggernaut in the West. Like, how do I don't know when to cheer and to be angry at this team sometimes.
That's the thing. Like, it's not like we have a super hard schedule down the stretch. We only have like less than half the games are on the road. We only have like 2 game road trips, I think. Maybe there's 3, but like we go to Arizona as the farthest. So like it's an easy, quote unquote, easy like stretch. But like considering the game against Arizona, considering those 2 games against Columbus, that doesn't necessarily fill me with confidence.
They've got a lot of division games left.
Yeah.
A lot of divisional games left.
Well, those will go a long way in deciding what's happening.
Yeah.
That like Calgary game at the end of March is going to be huge.
Is it in Calgary or in Vancouver?
In Vancouver.
Ooh.
I know. That could be like
Matt, you wanna go
the
to
biggest game of the year. I'm down.
I know my company is going, but
You're not.
no. I'm
Yeah. I don't blame him. Anyway.
Oh, you talking Corona? Is that why you're concerned?
No.
Oh.
On the note of Corona, before we wrap things up, I did say last week that for my stag on March 20th and 21st and 22nd, we're going to L.A. I don't know if I told you this,
Wow,
Adam.
I wasn't invited.
We're going to L.A. I know you were not invited.
Wow.
Would you have come?
I would have thought about it.
Yeah.
I've lost my faith in this.
Bromance.
Like,
You want to come
OTP.
last minute?
Well, no, I can't now.
Why not?
It's a little late notice, don't you think?
You dropped everything to come to this podcast today.
Well, no, work just dropped me.
Yeah, he was dropped. We're our last resort.
So we were thinking of going to LA and Anaheim to watch the Canucks play the Kings and the Ducks on that back-to-back road trip. Given coronavirus concerns, we're second guessing it at this point.
I mean, mainly because it's California, I guess, right?
Yeah. I don't know. I'm curious. What do you guys think? Do you still go?
I mean,
since we're talking about it,
I would still go. I think you're a very healthy 30-year-old guy.
I know.
That's the thing.
And good looking.
Also, like, I mean, even if Matt got coronavirus, he'd be fine.
Yeah, I think there's a good chance.
If I can cheer for the Canucks, it's clear that I have a very strong will.
Yeah, there you go. I don't know. I think, you don't want to play with fire. Just make sure you're doing all the safe things. But, like, I'm not going to stop doing my normal routine.
Right.
Yeah.
I joked about how the coronavirus won't kill me before the stress of watching this team will.
Yeah.
So you would still go?
I would still go.
Yeah.
Not that he was given the option, but...
No. We are, like, in the group, we are literally having the
she's talking about
conversation.
me.
Oh.
I was never given the option.
Adam, you can come.
Well,
You
thanks,
can
man.
come. He will permit you.
Now it's totally twisted around. If I don't go, it's
Here's
my fault.
the other thing is like given the and let's talk about this now. Like the NHL is literally putting teams and players and even the media on notice. Like they're not doing locker room availabilities anymore. They're doing them in the like press conference rooms and stuff like that. You know, you're seeing in Italy that football clubs are literally playing games with empty
I think
arenas.
Italy is a different ball game. Like Italy's.
I know, and I'm not like
Italy is legit.
But they're also, I mean,
suffering.
Who knows? We could easily, I don't want to play the fear panic game here, but we could be there in 10 to 14 days.
You know what's funny about the locker room thing? I thought it was like, maybe this is me being dumb, but like I didn't necessarily think, oh, it's to protect the players. I was more thinking like the players are gross and sweaty, and like I was thinking, oh, it's to protect the media.
Oh yeah, for sure.
BTW, I think you mentioned on Twitter that the rooms are like disgusting anyway, right? I've been to those rooms. They are actually like the equipment team does a bang up job at keeping that place like smelling air fresh in there.
Like,
little humble brag, man. I used to work in media.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like I've been there and the gear never stinks.
But that just
like
varies.
if you've ever been to like actual like rinks and like locker rooms, like those are disgusting.
Hypothetical situation. Any athlete, NBA, NHL player comes down with coronavirus, COVID-19.
I was going to say something really not good, so I won't say it. Oh, I stopped myself.
Probably best.
I'm curious.
Tell us later.
Yeah, but so what happens? Do they quarantine the whole team? Does the whole league shut down? Like, how quickly does that?
I don't think we're far off from something like that happening.
I mean, so one of the Scottish women's rugby team got coronavirus, and I think they basically cancelled every Six Nations game.
Wow.
But I mean, and Italy, they're not playing in Italy, which is hard.
I work in a restaurant and go to school at UBC, surrounded by 60,000 people.
Yeah.
I'm sure going to get coronavirus.
Yeah, I'm also work at UBC, so
yeah. Anyway,
surrounded by great students, but
this is why we exercise and stay fit.
But I think a professional athlete might get it, but like you can't. Like, either you shut down the whole league, or, like, you can't, like, quarantine this whole team, can you?
It'll be interesting. We'll see how that plays out.
Yeah.
Anna, as we wrap things up here on the C4 podcast, how about you tell the people where they can find the C4 podcast?
Yeah, I wasn't trusted with this last week.
I know. That's why I'm trying to give you the leeway.
I have it pulled up here, but I know it anyway.
So
you can find us on Twitter, at the C4 Podcast. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/the C4 Podcast. You can find us on c4podcast.com, where all our old episodes are, if you care to listen to it that way. You can also find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all your favorite podcast apps, and you can give us reviews there too. And if you want to talk hockey, if you want to air your paranoia about COVID-19, or you want to talk about the dog race, that's on Discord. We're at bit.ly/C4 Discord, all caps. bit.ly/C4 Discord, all caps. Are we going to talk about the dog race?
Oh yeah, very quickly, dog race. Do you like them? Entertaining?
Oh my god, they're the best thing that Canucks
Did you
have
see
done
one
this year.
live?
No.
I've seen both live.
Oh, you saw. So what do you like? I wasn't obviously there for either of the dog races. So what did you think of it from a live fan's perspective?
It's fun. It's like leaning into the fun. Like, I think Canucks in general have done a way better job of in-game entertainment this year. Some of them are missteps, but that's going to happen.
Do they still have DJ Baroness or whatever?
Yeah, she's just less a part of it. Like, they're trying to make that less of a thing. But yeah, I love the dog races. I will fully admit I was wrong. I was betting against Donny Vatanen, but...
He's got that straight line speed like his father.
Yeah, apparently so. My favorite dog is obviously Chris Tanev's Fat Pug.
Wow, no. I'm a
like
Gus Horvat boy.
Yeah, I mean...
Gus boys over here.
Okay, but Gus is underperforming. Like, Riley just changed roles. He became the woofery because,
Why not ruffery? I feel like that was a missed opportunity.
Ruffery's better.
Ruffery is better.
I did like also Georgia Sutton.
Hire me, Canucks.
Who was...
Yeah, but the in-game person said, like, no one get a penalty. Like, he's going to monitor anyone for roughing and stuff like that. Poorly timed joke.
Yeah. Again, I'm not a massive fan of the new host.
Yeah, he's no Kristen Reed.
Yeah.
He's Hannah
Hannah's
Bernard.
great, yeah.
Hannah Bernard was great, but
I saw
like
her
she
the
has
other
her own ventures. But, like, I do like the fact that they're making way more of an effort to be inventive.
I will say, the Dad Lee has been very serious over the last couple of weeks watching this team and stuff. So when he caught wind that the team was doing dog races and stuff, he was like, this is stupid. They should be focusing on winning games, not having dog races in the intermission. And I started egging him on, saying like, yeah, Horvat says he's going to come out during the intermission to help Gus and stuff like that. He's like, what? I'm going to go talk to him and everything. And I was like, no, he's not actually doing that.
I just think you can very much take hockey seriously and have fun. Like, yeah, the players have nothing to do with it. It's part of the spectacle, right?
And last words before we wrap things up.
I don't really know what to say. I just hope the Canucks make the playoffs.
Wow, even he's on team playoffs.
And if they don't, that they get one of those like 0.5% chances and win a lot.
Watch, this is the year. Like, we've done almost no draft research. This will be the year that somehow, the grace of God, the Canucks get Alex Lafreniere.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I feel like, you know, by refusing to engage with the draft until we know what's going on, like, it's better.
Like, usually this time last year, we were like, we're going to get Quinn Hughes, we're going to get Evan Bouchard, all that stuff.
2 years ago, but yeah.
You know what I'm talking about. Anyway, fun times. Well, on behalf of Anna, do you want to see anything else?
No.
Any games coming up?
I am going to the Lightning game, so we'll see how that one shakes out.
Hey, what's the next movie?
Hopefully not double-digit goals this time around, or 9 goals.
I haven't really done C4 at the movies for a while. I feel like
We're taking suggestions then.
Yeah, definitely. Let's get on Discord and throw them into Off Topic.
She should watch Rampage with The Rock, which is on Netflix.
Oh, we did sports movies. I thought that was the idea.
Yeah, it was meant to be the idea, and then I.
How about we do a Rockathon?
What's that dumb? Tom
All
Hanks
movies
movie?
with The Rock in
Not
it.
Tom Hanks, Tom Cruise.
Top Gun?
Top Gun, yeah. That's
What's the best movie that has The Rock in it?
I've watched that NFL movie with The Rock.
Gridiron Gang?
No, I don't think.
Do you mean the show
Tooth
on
Fairy?
HBO called Ballers?
No.
Tooth Fairy?
No. He plays like a single dad. It's like a
Oh, that is the hockey one.
heartwarming.
Best movie with The Rock? That's a tough question. I don't know.
Scorpion King?
No. I do like the movie The Rock with Nicolas Cage, though.
That's not The Rock movie.
Okay, so ideally sports movies I'm taking suggestions for, but
Gridiron Gang.
not NFL. I can't watch NFL. I don't understand it.
All
It makes me angry.
You are hopeless.
What about high school football, Friday Night Lights?
Oh, great show. Or movie.
Yeah.
Okay.
Remember the Titans? Another classic.
Another classic.
Remember the Titans, that Matthew McConaughey?
No.
It's Denzel.
That's We Are Marshall?
Sure.
Could be.
Is that what she's thinking?
Could be.
I think so.
Again, I've obviously not seen any football movies apart from the one with The Rock.
They probably make the best movies, best sports movies.
All right, we're going to wrap things up here in the C4 podcast.
Better than the Mighty Ducks, anyway.
Okay, now you took it too far. Rebooted the Mighty Ducks.
I'm not watching
coming
that, by the
on
way. I'm
Disney
not
Plus
watching
BTW.
that.
We're gonna make
Do we kick her out for that take? For the
Yeah, no
coronavirus?
kidding.
What's going
I
on?
don't know. Thanks for listening. We'll be back next week. C4 Podcast, CanucksHockeyBlog.com. All that said, we're out.